What's up, guys? Welcome back to a new episode on the Baseball Planet YouTube channel. A great day for the New York Mets. They get back their center fielder in Brandon Nimmo. They also add to the bullpen in David Robertson. Starting off with the Brandon Nimmo move. I mean, all three of us here are big diehard Mets fans, so it's a great day for us. Starting off with the Nimmo move. The Mets needed to get Nimmo back. They got him back on a 8-year, $162 million deal. In my opinion, great deal for Nimmo, great deal for the Mets. Nimmo's made himself a top five center fielder over the past few years. Only improved defensively. Always hustles. Always plays the game hard. Great guy. Hitting's improved over the years. Always got on base. And I feel like this is a guy the Mets need to bring back with how thin the outfield market was besides him and Judge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
go
If
ahead,
you
go
lose
ahead and go
Brandon,
first.
that's okay, Brandon.
You look better than me, so might as well.
If you lose Brandon Nimmo, there's absolutely no one to turn to. You got Kevin Kiermaier, who's the greatest, probably the greatest center fielder of our generation. And at least in our lifetimes defensively. Um, Other than that, though, maybe Michael Conforto did not want to see that happen. He did not perform well in his contract year. I couldn't imagine him doing too well on a show me contract. Bit of an overpay for Nimmo, but the Mets had to bring him back. Huge hole to fill there. There really was, like we said, there wasn't pretty much anything else out there to fill that hole. Unless it was the only guy we originally identified before the free agency process was potentially moving Trey Turner's position. Obviously, he wanted to go to the Phillies. Would have been a tricky fit anyway for the Mets to move everybody's positions around. But like we said, the Mets need to bring back a homegrown guy, especially after losing DeGrom. Keeps team morale. Would have been too big of a hole in the lineup to fill if you lost Nimmo and all. I think that homegrown guy. I think we've seen some reports coming out that he could potentially be named captain. I don't know if that's just because of the Aaron Judge contract, but it's good to have someone that wants to be a Met for life, and he signed the contract to back it up.
Yeah, just to back off what Ant's saying. I love players that want to be here. I mean, and that if that's a shot at the ground, like okay, like you know what, but it's like we needed a hole. There was a hole in center field with Nimmo being gone. Obviously, that's filled back up now. The Mets won the day. They won the day, and that's what's really important now. If you can go get Senga, I know Carlo. I'm pretty sure Rodon. It's not official yet, but he is in a contract agreement with the Giants. I think it's 2 years at 44 million. So, but you don't need another lefty. You sign Quintana.
That
So,
was last year, Brady. That was last year's contract.
okay? So someone's posting on it like a jackass because no, like I see this post online. It's Rodon is in contract agreements. It's like okay, so Rodon is apparently not. So he's still on the market.
Hey,
So
everybody's verified now, man. Everybody's verified.
yeah,
Well, the
that's
thing
true.
is, I want
Unfortunately,
to play a
Elon
nice.
doesn't care.
The problem is, I want to play a nice little prank. Before you get back to the Nimmo thing, I want to play a nice little prank with the guys in the group chat. I sent the Rodon tweet. I was looking up his stats. Saw the tweet from past, and I'm like, wait, it kind of got me by shock. I'm like, oh, it's from last year.
I saw
And
the
then
thing
I
too.
and then I sent it, and then Braden's obviously rattled in his shambles right now. But back to Brandon Nimmo real quick.
Yeah, it's just. But listen, if it's an overpayment, you can make the argument. But it's good to have a guy who wants to be a Met for life. I'm a big fan of Nimmo, so I'm gonna sound biased. He's probably one of the better, if not one of the best center fielders defensively in the game right now. Who's your leadoff hitter? People are gonna say overpayment, and part of me gets it. You have to you have to realize though, one, it's not your money. Two, Steve Cohen doesn't care, and quite frankly, I don't care either. As long as he builds a winner, no one will care. Now, and that's why I like not going after DeGrom. I don't, I wouldn't be, because spend money when you know that at least it has a chance to succeed. Because giving a 5-year contract to a guy like DeGrom is not going to work out. It just isn't. Especially paying him 37 million a season. You pay that contract to a guy that's going to be healthy for those 5 years. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case. I like Nimmo's odds, who's a very durable player. He's proven that he can play a great center field. He's proven that he can be a leadoff hitter. Why wouldn't you give 20 million to a guy like that? Now, I get it. Boris might overrate a lot of his guys, but that being said, Nimmo is, like I said, he's one of the better, if not one of the best center fielders right now. I love the contract. Like I said, Mets win the day. They make a nice signing with David Robertson. Apparently, Carlos Rodon is still on the market, so that's good. And listen, to be honest, it's down between Senga and Bassett. I want to extend that question to you guys. If you're going to bring in one of those righties, who are you going to bring in?
Okay, so I'll start, or AD, you start. You start because I was going to bring up some points once I'm finished with this.
I think Bassett got a lot of unfair criticism last year because of his last two starts of the year. Obviously, he didn't pitch
And I, I,
well,
I want to interrupt you
but
for
he was
one
the
second.
bulldog. He kept
I want
the
to interrupt you for 1 second because I was doing the show today, and this kid Nico, who's a great kid, made one of the most absurd comments I think
Nico.
I've ever
Nico,
heard.
we know another Nico.
No, well, no, no, not that Nico, not the Brazilian Hammer, but this kid Nico that I'm doing the show with, he he was like, well, Bassett kind of crap. Like, you're gonna blame Bassett for Game 3 of the wild card, bro? They had one hit. It's not Bassett's fault. Bassett was the only healthy guy the whole season. Now, to be fair, like Ants mentioned, and I'll throw it back to you, Ann, just a sec. But to be fair, like Ants mentioned, if Bassett asked for 4 years, then I'll take my chance with Senga for 5 or 6 because I'm not paying Chris Bassett for 4 more years. He's 33 now. I'm not going to pay him until he's 37. He's going to ask for a big contract. So if you ask me, if it's a 2 year deal, maybe I go Bassett. Anything above that, I'll take my chance with Senga. I'm sorry, but I just need to
Yeah, I
throw
hear
that in
you.
because I like Bassett a lot. I'm not willing to give him that much, but if he's criticized for being the anchor of that bullpen, or not the bullpen, the anchor of that rotation, and having one bad inning in the wild card, his offense not picking him up, I can't listen to that. It just makes my ears bleed.
Yeah, I agree. I think either way, no matter who you sign, I think you're going to be fine. Obviously, Bassett's the proven guy, really probably arguably one of the top number three starters in baseball and could outperform that if asked, and he has done that in the past in Oakland and last year with the Mets. But I think Kodai Senga is the guy that if you want a high upside guy that could potentially be a number one, that's the guy you sign. There's more risk in that signing, but I think Senga's the guy. Either way, though, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, so I agree with both of these guys, and I think you really can't go wrong with either. But at the same time, it might be a weird feeling for me to have. But also, I remember going into this all season thinking I feel like I'd be kind of upset if the Mets completely ran it back this offseason. So basically, saying if the Mets went out there, signed DeGrom, Nimmo, and Bassett, I feel like I would have been like a little bit like shaky about it because obviously this team won 101 games, but at the same time, they also lost in the first round. So they obviously need more pieces and different pieces in there. But to answer Braden's question, I think I would take Bassett back with open arms because he was a guy, like Braden said, stayed healthy the entire season, was kind of an anchor while DeGrom was out. Had a bunch of great starts, but obviously didn't pitch too well in the wild card series. But like Braden said, you really can't help it when the offense only gets one hit. Um, and also, I mean, I'm high on Senga. I feel like I'd really like Senga if he came aboard. I really don't know how the contract works out because it's kind of confusing. Basically, if he came over, I think he'd obviously be considered a rookie, and I think he'd be under contract for basically 6 years, no matter what the contract is. So that's a little bit of confusion right there. But um, in my opinion, I kind of want Senga over Bassett. That's just me right now. I'd want Senga over Bassett. Obviously, more risk, and Senga's already 29, which that's something I really don't like about those international free agents. From Japan and Korea, they come over when they're like in their 20, like late 20s, early 30s, and it's kind of like, all right, what are we going to get out of this guy for a short amount of period of his career? But overall, I'd probably pick Senga. That's just my personal preference. Like I said, if we got Bassett back, I love it. But at the same time, I would probably take Senga. And if you look at the rotation right now, it's probably looking like Verlander, Scherzer, Quintana, Carrasco, and then Peterson or McGill. In my opinion, it's not that bad of a rotation. It's pretty solid. But I feel like Quintana should be our four. And I think if you move into the four, it's one of the best rotations in baseball if you get Sanger or Bassett back. And yeah, that's basically all I have for that question. Very good question though by Braden, who's just throwing things out there and we're just answering them because great minds think alike out here. Um, but I was gonna add some stuff. In my mind, I was gonna add some stuff to the Nimmo thing, but um, you know, Kiermaier Kiermaier's a fourth outfielder. He's a defensive replacement at this point in his career. He's kind of a Travis Jankowski kind of guy. I feel at this point in his career might be kind of
Shout
disrespectful to
out T
Kiermaier.
Jank. Shout out T Jank. That's
Yeah,
disrespectful to Travis Jankowski personally, but
I
whatever
meony
you want to say.
listen, it might be
Stony Brook Seawolf legend.
it might be disrespectful to both of them. Apologies to both of these men, but at the same time, Kiermaier, you never kind of. I mean, unless I'm drawing a blank, never really thought of a season where I was like, oh, this guy's breaking out offensively now. No, he's been, he's rock solid in center field. Like he's a great defensive outfielder. But at the same time, the Mets lineup who would possibly lose, their leadoff hitter, the guy that gets on base, the guy that gets his rally start, the guy that gets everything going, lose him for a guy that's a fourth outfielder like that just wouldn't be a that would be a no fly zone in my opinion. Um,
100%.
moving on though, we're going to talk about the David Robertson signing, another sign that I absolutely love for the Mets. This is a guy the Mets were looking at and wanted to acquire during the trade deadline from the Cubs, but it was said that the Cubs wanted a top prospect from the Mets, and obviously for a rental reliever, that's probably the last thing you want to do. Trade a you know top prospect for a rental reliever. But I think this is the biggest question mark for the Mets the rest of the offseason, how they piece together their bullpen. Before the season, they had, a few veterans, a few rookies in their bullpen. Diaz wasn't even signed back yet, so it was basically Drew Smith with slot advantage, like the best reliever. Adam Ottavino hit the market. Seth Lugo hit the market. Mets legend Joey Rodriguez hit the market. Obviously, he's with the Red Sox. But the Mets adding Diaz back on that really good contract, really huge contract, and now getting Robertson, I think it's starting to come together. Another guy I would love to see the Mets kind of get is, Andrew Chafin, potentially T. Willie, Trevor Williams for that Trevor Williams kind of role. Like I saw on Twitter, the Trevor Williams kind of role is a guy that could either start or relieve. I don't think there's anybody else better in the league that could fill the Trevor Williams role better than Trevor Williams himself.
Trevor Williams.
So, yeah, that's basically all I'm going to say about the Robertson signing. I really like it. I really think it's a great piece for the Mets. Pitch well for the Cubs. I think he had a little bit. I think he's a little bit shaky with the Phillies, but at the same time, that's me reading tweets of Phillies fans on Twitter saying he's a little bit shaky, but at the same time, they're Phillies fans. No offense to any Phillies fans watching this, but let's go Mets. I'm going to give this one to one of you guys to take it away.
I'll take it. So obviously the Mets needed to completely retool their bullpen. I think they've done that in the last few days, at least at the start of it. They really needed a setup man at the deadline, and they didn't get that in Robertson. Instead, they got Michael Givens, who was started off shaky, but he ended up coming on at the end.
Yeah, and
wasn't good enough, obviously.
Apologies for interrupting, but yeah,
all good. It's all good. So you have Diaz at the back end. I think you got Robinson as your 8. Then, right now you got Drew Smith in there. You got Brooks Raley in there. And then, obviously, like Bubba mentioned, Andrew Chafin, I think, would be a great add. They acquired Jeff Brigham and Eliezer Hernandez earlier in the year. That's more so for depth. Like Bubba said before, either McGill or Peterson will be in there. I do think the Mets will eventually sign Senga, and I can see either both of them being in there. But I do think that a Carrasco trade could eventually happen, like we've read about. Good ad for the Mets, though. 1-year deal, really not much risk into it. $10 million a year, pretty decent price. Good contract for Robertson. Relievers who get over that 8 or 9 plateau, you generally do a good job. But I think it's a fair price for a setup man who was pretty great, who was one of the top closers in baseball last season. So all in all, good signing for the Mets. Obviously, still more work to be done with that bullpen, but at least right now, the back end of it's looking pretty good with Diaz, Robertson, Brooks Raley, and Smith.
I forgot about Brooks Raley. Yeah, I don't know how I forgot about him. We mentioned him last episode, in the National League episode, but yeah, I forgot about him. My bad, Braden. Take it right ahead, my friend.
Yeah, like Ann mentioned, it's a signing I loved, and the second I saw it, I was like, the funniest thing about it, the Nimmo and Robertson signs happened back to back, and I was at the freaking station for like 8 hours tonight, so it was like a nightmare just being in there, just sitting in a chair waiting away because I did 2 basketball games and I know nothing about basketball. But the second that Nimmo and Robertson both get signed, like I'm just like sitting there, like my friends are looking at me. It's like I'm just sitting in the chair, like going like yes, like losing it. And he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" It's like the Mets just got Nimmo back. The Mets just signed Robertson. This is great. it's like Ann mentioned. I mean, they needed help in the bullpen. We saw it not all of, but a good amount of last season when the bullpen had, struggled. Joely Rodriguez, obviously, we know is in Boston now. Michael Givens. I love this. Listen, I want T. Willie back and I want Ottavino back. You know, I know Tommy Hunter. I believe Tommy Hunter was brought back. I believe also along with Sean Reed Foley. So I don't see
Yeah,
Reed.
minor league deal for those.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Like Ann mentioned, I wouldn't mind getting a guy like Andrew Chafin in there as well. It's and Drew Smith, obviously. I'm hoping Drew Smith pitches a lot more this season, like he did in the first half last season, because he tapered off near the end. But that, to be fair, he was still one of our better bullpen pieces, which is why you made a move like this, because they struggled so mightily. So it'll be interesting to see where they go. It's a move the Mets needed to make, not needed to, but it's very good that they, to a sense that they had to, because they need that help in the bullpen. So it'll be interesting to see what else they add. I mean, outside of Chafin, I'm not looking much at the reliever market. I don't want Trevor May back. Please no. It'll be interesting to see what they do. The good news for the Mets, regardless, is you probably have one of the best closers, if not the best closer in baseball, to back this all up. So that should hopefully be good as the season goes along. It really just comes down to, can the Mets support him with the right guys around him in that bullpen?
Yeah, so my favorite line on this podcast is great points by these guys, but great points by these guys. Um, but I mean, like they were talking about, and honestly, I don't know if I'm drawing any blanks here. I like to say that too, but I feel like this is the first year in a long time where the Mets kind of really didn't have that many problems in their bullpen. Because before
Mm.
this season, Diaz was good, but Diaz wasn't elite Edwin Diaz, cue the trumpet Diaz kind of guy. Like he was, you know, it was still. I remember from obviously 2019. Every single time the guy came in the game, everybody was like shaking in their boots. The Mets could have a 3-run lead and everybody be shaking. Now it was like this past season coming with, you know, up by 1 run. You have the 2, 3, 4 guys come up. Against the Dodgers. What was it, like Turner? It was like their main guys came up in the lineup
Yeah,
against
Turner, Betts,
Diaz.
and Freeman.
Yeah, Turner, Betts, and Freeman. I almost said Friedman. And it was like, dude, this guy shuts them down. Mets win another ball game. So I think this was like the first time in a while where it was kind of more confidence in the bullpen, especially with Ottavino showed what he could do this year. Lugo had another good year. Drew Smith started hot. I remember the Mets made a post like early season was like, Drew Smith and Chase and Shreve absolutely
Mm-hmm.
dominating, not letting up
And
runs.
then
Chase and Shreve ends up getting DFA'd. Drew Smith ends up, getting rocked. And I think, that one game that the Mets had in San Francisco where I was up watching it, fell asleep, somehow woke up. The Mets were up. Lindor got like that bases clearing trip or whatever it was. Then Drew Smith gave up like that 3-run home run to Jock Peterson or whatever it was. That kind of got me in shambles. Kind of got me rattled at like 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. Couldn't go to bed after that. I was kind of in shambles. I kind of wanted to. I'm not gonna say it on here because it's not kid friendly, but at the same time, um, you know, I think adding Rayleigh was a really good move. We mentioned that. I think adding Robertson was a great move. Getting Diaz back was a need because really you can't replace Edwin Diaz. You
no,
especially with
not
Nimmo
at
this
all.
year. You could say the same with Nimmo this year. There's nobody on the market or trade market where you could kind of replace Nimmo unless you're going out there and getting Mike Trout. But you really can't replace the kind of personality and kind of player that Nimmo is. And
But yeah, can I step in for 1 second?
of course,
The only person that could have really replaced Brandon Nimmo on the trade market was Brian Reynolds, in my opinion. And Brian Reynolds, with the team control he has, he's going to cost an arm and a leg. So it wasn't a realistic possibility.
looking at my phone, checking to see my sources real quick. Mike Tayano, breaking news in the group chat. Anyways, shout out to Mike Tayano, another member of our squad. He's been on here multiple times. But always great when I get to see Braden's lovely face on my screen, and I feel you guys feel the same way back at home. Um, anyways, yeah, I mean, I've been kind of getting kind of off kilter here in this podcast. I apologize for we getting off cue here. I feel like Ellen DeGeneres, but because Braden fell for my bamboozlement of the Rhode Island signing, and now we're talking about Mike Tayano breaking news in the group chat. Um, But yeah, I don't know if there's really anything more to say. I am looking forward to see what the Mets do the rest of the offseason. I'm also looking forward to see what guys like Correa, Swanson, Rodon all go, what kind of contracts they get. Um, if you guys haven't watched our past few episodes, go make sure to watch them. And maybe you'll see another episode soon of maybe me and AD, me and Brady, me and Mike, maybe me and anybody, them. I don't know, mix match. Maybe you'll see that of the emergency episode we had last night of Xander Bogaerts signing with the Padres. That was a lot of fun. But we really do hope you guys enjoy this content. We enjoy making it. We hope you guys enjoy watching it. If you guys have nothing else to say, we're gonna wrap this up. Everybody's good. Everybody's good.
Shohei Ohtani is going to be a Met next, and Shohei Ohtani next free agency is coming to the Mets. That's all I have to say.
Hot take. We'll save this one for next year.
Bookmark it for 2023. God forbid that does happen.
Braden's already in shambles thinking about it. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Baseball Planet YouTube channel. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what your favorite color is. Christmas coming up. Let me know what your favorite color is. Elf. Will Ferrell. Great guy. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.